Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice and to My Choice Tuesday. Today I want to dive into one of the most famous operas of all time, Carmen. And specifically, I want to take a look at a performance by Elina Garanca that was at the Metropolitan Opera in 2010. And I want to talk about what makes her and this performance so very amazing. We're also going to talk a little bit about the opera and what makes it so great. I mean, it does have all the things you would expect from an opera. It has drama, has romances, and it also has very glorious melodies. But there's a lot more that goes into making Carmen an intricate, complex, and very fascinating character that people become obsessed with. So let's get to it. So much to digest in this very, very first part. I love it. Uh, I love that in the bass you hear this, it's almost like a tango-like beat that's happening, and it starts out minor, and every now and then Bizet makes it go to major. And I feel like that really represents the rather changeable love of Carmen. She values freedom so much. And she's also a very grounded and analytical character, if you really get into her. I think a lot of people think, oh, she's just like a sexy wild lady. And I love the way that you see Elina portraying her here as very, very calculated. She is really singing this anthem, the Habanera here. And this anthem is talking about how love can sway from one to hot to cold at any moment. If somebody loves her, she's not going to love them, and if somebody doesn't love her, she might love them. And if she does love somebody, then you better beware. So it's really clear that she thinks that love is free, and it's meant to be free and just go out in a very unpredictable way. But at the same time, she's saying that, and she has total control of the situation. This is one of the things that she does so well. On stage, immediately you can tell she walked on the stage, she was grounded, and she was in control. Look at the way she eyes around stage. Look at the way she's grounded in the stage. I love seeing that she's barefoot for this scene, of course. And you can tell that she knows it's all her game at this point. You can tell by the eye movements, she's very specific about when she directs a certain comment to one person or the other. I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about who she's directing these comments to and about a few more things here as well. Oh, these first few moments are just so good. So even from the way she sits down, she's not going to cross her legs and be ladylike. She's like, nope, I am a down-to-earth, but flighty gypsy woman. And you can tell she sets things down so casually, just like, yeah, this is my space. You're in it. I love the kind of control that she dominates the stage with immediately. In addition, I love the really warm, pillowy sound of her voice. Elina is a true mezzo. Every now and then, Carmen is sung by a soprano, and a lot of mezzos really despise that because it's one of the only leading lady mezzo roles that exists. So I really love hearing this deep timbre. It feels a lot more seductive to me in a lot of ways to have the warmth of the timbre, the depth of the tone. It becomes a little more velvety, almost like a little more gushy in some ways. I think it's really, really gorgeous. Okay, going back one more time, appreciate how she sits. let's talk a little bit about the characters. And we're going to go back and listen to that line one more time because there's a couple other things I want to point out that's so good about her entrance. First of all, you have two main guys that she's going to be singing to throughout in this aria. Don Jose becomes the main love interest throughout the opera, like the fated love interest. He's the guy that ends up killing her, right? And that's the one that's in front here. He's played by Roberto Alagna. And he's not interested in Carmen at all. So that makes her interested in him. You can see, I think he's about to smoke a cigarette. By the way, this scene is established right outside the cigarette factory where Carmen and the other girls work. The other guy here is Zuniga, who's staring straight at Carmen right now. He's played by Keith Miller here. He's the captain of the guard, very interested in Carmen. And so she toys with him and she manipulates that interest. Back to the beginning, one more time. Listen to how she slides just very specific notes. It's just like every now and then, it's beautiful expressions. You know that every single one she does is totally on purpose because she's like a little drop of candy every now and then. L'amour. Okay, so the one word she slides on there is l'amour, which is love. And that's so important because this entire aria is about Carmen's view on love. It's her anthem. So just doing the little the little nudge on l'amour gives you so much information about how she feels about it. Also, I just love this chromatic descending melody. It's very, very difficult to tune descending chromatics. And I think it's also has almost a sinuous nature to it, right? So it feels a little bit sly. I like the way that on these l'amours, she really directs them to herself. You can tell that she contemplates love and she has a lot of respect for it. I like the way her eyes are facing inward and kind of become a little more soft here. Whereas when she's directing something to one of the two guys, she just stares at them. It's got daggers in her eyes. It's very intense and fantastic on stage. Additionally, I love the way her support is so grounded here. A lot of times when you see people do the l'amours and they're siding around, you see some shoulders happening or almost like some over support that's happening. And instead, she lets it be light and almost playful. Let's go back and listen to those l'amours one more time. So I love the way specifically she slides off of garde here, which is essentially prends garde. It means take care or beware. Instead of being be careful, beware. She's like, beware. And she has this little slide in it that makes a person be more enticed. I don't think that Carmen is somebody who's um like going to be that the sort of sexy, fiery model necessarily. She's somebody who is deliberate and somebody who is actually very, very good at manipulating to get love out of something in the way that she wants it. It's surprising. The more you look at her and you see how she interacts in this opera, how it's very practical at times. Later on in the opera, she essentially seduces Don Jose and then lets him get captured and sent to prison so that she can escape. It's very shocking. And she does very similar things throughout, where she essentially will use that. It's seduction, but it's very calculated seduction to get what she wants. So I love that at this point, Elina decided to do that little slide off of guard because it makes it not sound so serious. Instead, it sounds really playful and enticing. I love the way she sings Si je t'aime there, and the control, the decrescendo through it without losing core in the voice at that point. Definitely that it draws you in again. And I love this earthiness and her tone and the way when she's singing down in this register, which is, it's very middle, even to mid-low. She still has so much volume in it. Sopranos, when they get down there, they tend to lose a bit of the substance. And she just sounds so full still. It's gorgeous. I'm going to go back to the Je t'aime point. It's great. Even with the look, like the slow look up instead of the dagger up. It's great. Even if you look at her mouth there, it's beautiful how she is so relaxed in all of her vowel formation, but still so open. She's very, very comfortable with this language. It's gorgeous pronunciation. It's really easy to understand. I love it. By the way, French pronunciation for singing and speaking are very different. I know this from studying French in France and at a French conservatory at first, and then coming back and really get into French opera and having somebody at the Met who just kicked my butt. Man, it is French singing pronunciation tends to roll the R's on the front instead of the uvular R in the back. And that's partly because it's just easier, vocal tract wise, it's easier to get the sound out. And the front R can travel further in a bigger auditorium. And so you'll usually hear her using the front one. Oh, okay, look at her mouth and the beautiful formation. And prend was a great example of that more forward R roll rather than the uvular one. But she's so good in this role. She's like, don't care. Nope, don't care at all. Just spits the orange peel out. She's not trying to be some pretty girl. She's down to earth. She works at a cigarette factory. She's dirty and she's dangerous. So good. this support is so beautiful. You see her fill up a little bit. You don't see a whole lot of movement in the shoulders, just like a tiny bit as she fills up her air. And then when she goes up to that top note, she actually sinks down into a little bit. She's so comfortable and centered, and her support here. That is not a comfortable note for most mezzos to sing. That takes a lot of focus. That is a note that can very easily slip too far back, right? It's hanging out in the passaggio, which is a zone that's a little fussy sometimes, essentially. And she just seems like she's so at chill with it. I love it. I love it. So there's a really good example in the orchestra now of this. We started out major and then we went to minor right when she started singing her line here. Additionally, there's some really good push and pull in this. And that's due to the conductor. This is, I think, Yannick, I think it's Nezit Seguin, I believe. I believe that's how you say it. I might be wrong. I usually hear people refer to him as Yannick. Very well-known younger conductor, just been doing a brilliant job. I think this is a slightly fast, it's on the faster side of what some conductors would do with this habanera, but it's pretty fantastic. And I love the push and pull and the way he really seems to get the whole orchestra to fill in when there's not a singer singing, and then brings them back and is quieter to give support but not overbear. One more time right there. So that guitar into it was perfect. Do that again on the word l'amour. She did that little slide thing. You can tell she's very purposely put that in at certain places to give them an extra bit of expression. I'm going to talk about a few more things in her voice that are super incredible. First of all, this is not easy to find good breathing places in. There's a lot of words to get out here. And if you sang it exactly on the rhythm, it wouldn't feel correct. You need to sort of deal with the words in a way that makes them feel like they're closer to spoken, but still following the rhythm that's written on the page. So she's pushing and pulling those words and then giving herself moments where she can take breaths in there. And that makes it feel like she's speaking the line at times. It's very, very smart, very expressive. I love the way she does it and stays within the confines of the big beats, but is able to sort of play in between those. I also am in total admiration of how she interweaves her head voice and her chest voice. So it's so beautiful to hear the way she has lightness available in the top of her head voice or heaviness there. And when she comes down and she's going to a place where she's about to transition into chest, there are times when she has woven them so closely together that I can't tell if she's transitioned to chest. And that's something I listen for all the time. It's something I intimately know. She's so good at it that sometimes I'm like, was that actually chest voice right there? So I'm going to go back and talk. Let's go through. Wow, this section is so good. Look at that smug smile. I love it. Oh, perfect. So at voila, I think she might have gone into chest. She definitely pumps out a little bit more volume, but she has so much richness in her sound down in those notes that it's hard to tell if she actually did that. So, okay, keeping going. I love that song. So I'm fairly positive on La. She went into chest there. But then she slides up and there's no perceptible break as she does that slide. It's beautiful. Ugh. And she goes up to the top quietly. Most of the time when you go higher, the voice is naturally going to get louder. And it's, even with the mezzo voice, it has much more sound and weightiness to it. It's going to have an option to get even louder up there. But she just like goes up there like on this very thin, silky line and sings the next line up, just like weaving so tenderly. It's beautiful. Whew. So I think revient, I'm not sure if she went to chest on that one. I think it might just be a fuller head voice, but il te tient at the end here, it sounds like she goes to chest, but just like a very light version of it. So this is demonstration of total mastery over vocal registration. It is so difficult to do what she's done here. Most people they struggle initially even figuring out what their head and their chest voice is. To be able to interweave the two once you've built up both sides so thoroughly to the point where you can't hear a distinguished switch is incredible. It's so beautifully done. And it requires so much technique and just skill to do what she just did. Two amazing things that just happened. First of all, she's absolutely playing Zuniga. 100%. Do not doubt it. She is playing him completely. Other thing that happened is you get to see her interaction with other women, which it can be fun sometimes with like the other gypsy girls that she hangs out with. They do like some card reading and it can be fun, but especially with the other girls in the cigarette factory, oh man, she gets in fights. She's a bully. She is a very fierce character. And right here, she just took a flower and this woman's like, hey, pay me. And she's going to be like, no, not happening. And the woman's just going to walk away because she wouldn't dare go against Carmen. Carmen, like, she'll rip your hair out. Literally. That's something that Carmen does. She's so nasty. She even gets in trouble for it later. So anyhow, one more time. This is amazing. She very clearly plays Zuniga, shoves him away, grabs a flower. I love the character development in this instance. Oh, makes him pay it instead. You can tell I love the camera angle of this too. And this production in general is just fabulous. A lot of these directions do come from a director that's guiding them. Of course, then she embodies it and probably brings her own ideas to it. So I don't know how much of it is purely her. I'm sure that a lot of the gazes and a lot of the command of stage is just her, but there are some directions that she would be given to. I loved this line being directed towards Don Jose at this point, and that's because she says, if you don't love me, at this part she says, but if I love you, beware again. And you can tell that she's really looking at him and saying, you've been ignoring me the whole time, and so I'm going to get you. And you can tell that's just one of the ways that she decides to take control of any situation. She lives for freedom, and to ensure her freedom, she wants control of a situation. It's just fantastic and complex in the character. There you go. If I don't love you. I think it's very interesting right there, because this is another moment where you see that she's starting to lose control of one of these characters. And he's like, I'm going to walk away. I'm tired of this. And she's like, no, I've got you here. And she stops him and starts to essentially taunt him a little bit more. Maybe not evil, just totally calculated. 100% calculated to control her room. That might be the girl that she gets in a fight with later. Or maybe it's already happened. She gets in fights with people all the time. So anyhow, you can tell by the reaction of the girls there that they have a bone to pick. Oh, I love that part. Si tu ne m'aimes pas. Right there, she's putting a lot more volume into it and goes to her chest voice. I love the amount of carrying power she has. I also just noticed, I love the way she walks on stage. It's not super feminine. Her stride is very separated and far apart. Again, this grounded, like, it's not like a sleek sheen kind of sexy. It is like down to earth and dangerous. This woman can pull your hair out. She can fight you. Beautiful ornament there. Interesting. So the placement of the hands on the hip, by the way, that was the last moment there. This moment at the end, I love. It's not drawn out too much. This is an introduction to Carmen. It doesn't need to be held forever and ever and ever at this point, right? This is just a hello. And she is just at the very beginning of a seduction of Don Jose at this point. Very, very beginning. This flower that she has ends up taking on tons of importance. He sings this huge love ballad to it after she gives it to him later on, and it becomes a source of obsession for him, which really ultimately leads to their demise. But the hands on the hip, that is a really good way to feel your back rib support. Your diaphragm goes all the way around. A lot of people think their diaphragm maybe just comes out down in their stomach and you can breathe in and out there. It's like a weirdly shaped frisbee that is really attached to the edges of your lungs, and it can kind of concave up and then go down. And so it helps spread the lungs out or pull them back in. And if you put your hands on your back in this way, and you see on her hips, that actually gets into the floating ribs and into the backspace. And it's a good way to breathe into that backspace and then keep it expanded when you're singing a high note. It can be a really great way to keep that grounded support. That might not be what she's aiming for there, but if the direction was just to put your hands on your hips, like that isn't just hands on hips, that's hands additionally on the floating ribs in the back. So she could be feeling that breath support and be even more grounded in it. Beautiful mouth shape too. Oh, the stare. Love it. Elina Garanca for me is really the perfect Carmen. I love the way that she portrays her as somebody that is calculated, as somebody that is grounded. It feels much more working girl, which is what Carmen is. She's a working girl that's working at a cigarette factory, and less flouncy, essentially. And additionally, I love the sound of her voice, that beautiful full sound in the lower notes, especially. And I'm so amazed by her technical chops and the way she negotiates between head and chest voice. Her singing is so very nuanced, yet so sensible, and sometimes even simple at the same time. She has really captured Carmen, I think, perfectly, perfectly, perfectly. And I love the way that she is all the time in total control of the situation. She embodies Carmen in a way that I think is very true to the character, and also just sounds great. I would love to hear your ideas about Carmen. People have, I think, very different opinions about Carmen, and it can be very exciting to talk about her and where she comes from and maybe why she's developed in this way. So let's talk about that down in the comments. And I'd love to hear if you'd like to hear more opera on this channel. Let me know in the suggestions if there are any pieces in particular you'd like to hear. Of course, I love opera. I love getting to analyze it. And I hope that all of you enjoyed as much as I do when I get to release one on my Choice Tuesdays. Thank you so much for being here. You can come and join me every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. Arizona time for live premieres. And if you don't want to miss something that's coming out, make sure that you subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications. You can also find us on Patreon, and you can find me for voice lessons or a course on music in general at thecharismaticvoice.com. Thank you.